What's going on, everybody out there? I'm so happy because I have my first interviewee here, none other than the acting extraordinaire, Mr. Ovis Mangum. How are you today?
I'm quite well, thank you, Mr. Zoolander.
All right, and it's good to see you again. And some of you might be like, wait, why does that guy look familiar? He's not James Earl Jones. Who is this guy? Well, you know who this guy is? This is my homie. We did a scene together for My Rainey's Black Bottom, which is also Chadwick Boseman's final film. And we had a scene that actually got featured. So let me just start right there. What did it feel like for you to see yourself a part of a project of that magnitude?
Oh, that was phenomenal. It's hard to explain, to put in words. See yourself in a production produced by Denzel Washington, with Viola Davis, Chadwick Boseman, an ensemble cast of well-known professionals. It's just fantastic. It doesn't really get any better than that, other than getting some lines.
Right, getting some lines and getting some money that comes with those lines. Because, don't get me wrong, I appreciated being in that scene. It's a powerful scene. Look, this is not a spoiler alert or anything. We're not doing that because at this point, if you're black, especially, and you haven't seen My Rainey's Black Bottom, then that's not on us for talking about the movie. So if you want to exit right now and you no longer want to pay attention to anything we're saying, that's totally fine. But we're going to talk about this movie, so stay tuned. Now, it was an interesting experience for me too because I had done some extra roles before and nothing that I did I ever really cared about. I think there was Mindhunter and I played like I don't know, I think they called it what is it? It's like PennDOT up here. A mark, I forgot what their system is down there that handles like the roads and all that kind of stuff. But I played one of those guys and there was nothing special about that. I had a hard hat and I didn't really feel connected to that role. But this role right here, it really brought a lot out of me because I'm a big fan or a big proponent of learning Black history and being a part of it. So I personally enjoyed it. How did you find out about the opportunity?
Well, I've been working as a background artiste for a few years, and one of the casting agencies contacted me about working on the Ma Rainey project. I also had worked on some other projects in the Pittsburgh area. Pittsburgh is known for filming TV shows, miniseries, movies, and to be a part of anything associated with August Wilson and Denzel Washington, you know, it's like the excitement and the buzz about being a part of that production was incredible. I don't know if you remember, but the day, well, of course you do, you were there.
Yeah.
But the day of our scene, it was the scene where they were filming downtown Chicago, 1927.
Okay.
By the way, which there was a city block on the north side of Pittsburgh that was converted and transformed into 1927 Chicago with the cars, the streets, the billboards, the signs, everything. It looked authentic.
Yeah.
But there were only, of all the background people, there were only 5 African Americans on the set. That day. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Because it was just
do.
me, you, and 3 other people.
I remember, yes.
And I was like, well, why are there only us?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But they were filming a montage scene with us.
Yeah.
While they were filming all these other scenes.
So just so you all know, Ovis and we were there for a couple days filming. The first scene that we did that actually made it into the movie where we can see ourselves and we can tell our moms like, yo, we up in here. like that one was the montage one. And there's a part in the movie where Glenn Turman does a monologue and he talks about the colored man and he compares the colored man to ingredients in a stew.
And he referred to black folks are the leftovers. And that's when our scene comes up. And we're the first ones in that montage. And we're the leftovers.
Yeah. And
what I thought about that scene is the contrast between a younger African-American male, an older African-American male, a light-skinned brother and a dark-skinned brother.
Right.
You know, and it was like,
we
that kind of captured, you know, the epitome of what the leftovers, along with some of the other people in the montage that come after.
Absolutely. And if you want to dig deeper, there's a connection to be made between the origins of soul food and what Glenn Turman is talking about in this film. because we know that we created soul food as a way to sustain ourselves, because we knew we weren't going to get the best part of pigs or the best part of whatever our slave masters were eating. So we had to create our own food, and that's how you get a lot of food that isn't healthy for us, but it's been in our family for years.
Exactly.
What were your directions from the director of that scene? What did he tell you to do so that you could portray the montage role that he wanted?
Okay, he set it up. He was explaining, listen, you guys are, probably from way down south, Mississippi somewhere, which historically a lot of folks migrated from the south to Chicago looking for factory jobs or whatever. He was like, you probably have family you left back home. You're looking for work. You're probably living with people you barely know, just trying to get a job and make a way, and it's hot outside, and it's just, you put all that together, and you're frustrated, and you're afraid, and you're angry, and we want to see all that emotion come out in this scene. And that's what we portrayed.
Yeah, that's what we portrayed. And it definitely didn't take one time. And what y'all have to remember is that the sun was blazing hot. This was one of the hottest days of the summer in Pittsburgh last year. And what actually worked to our advantage is that because the weather was so muggy outside and we had to look like we were distressed and we didn't know where our next meal was coming from, it helps that the weather was so depressing that we were able to show that on our faces. So I think that was another nugget from that experience that really aided the scene.
Oh yeah, being a man of a certain age, I just drew from my life experience.
Yeah.
The frustrations, the disappointment, the anger, all those things you experience, and you just, you let it show and display in your facial expressions. And by the way, acting isn't always reciting lines. Acting is, expressing, emotion. Sometimes the best actors or best scenes is when you're not actually verbalizing anything, but your expressions speak volumes.
Like, I'll give you a perfect example. So we have, obviously, the 30-year sequel to Coming to America is coming out, I believe it's March in 2021. And one of the things that I remember from the original was Eddie Murphy, who was playing a barber in the movie, one of his many characters, he was cutting the hair of Cuba Gooding Jr. And this is before Boys in the Hood and Men of Honor and all of those historic films that Cuba has been in. And I'm sure Cuba's directions were very simple, to just like be a normal guy getting your hair cut. Don't make too many facial expressions that'll distract from the moment of the scene. And I bring that up because that exactly matches with what you're talking about as far as that whole idea of there are no small roles, just small actors. I think that's a really big thing. And all we can do is take whatever opportunities we get and make the most out of them.
Yeah. Well, we were involved in another scene, which is the opening scene of the tent scene when Ma Rainey's performing on stage. Mm-hmm. And I'd like to hear your experiences with that. I know for me, it was the audience. It was electric in there. It's like we were transported back to the 1920s. I mean, we're out in the woods in the middle of nowhere, and she comes out on stage, and it was really like you were at a concert. The people, that's the way it felt to me.
Absolutely.
Like everybody was screaming and excited.
Yeah.
And I remember the director, George Wolfe, coming out and saying, whoa, that was phenomenal. You guys were incredible. We could feel the energy in the room. And I think Viola Davis mentioned something about that too, that we really need you people to make this work. We need all these people to make this scene work.
Yeah. What I remember, well, first of all, let me go to the movie and match what I saw in the movie from what the experience was when we were there at the tent scene. So I thought what was really compelling about the movie is that you see people running across the grass. And when I saw that, I was thinking, I'm like socially conditioned to think, okay, they might be running from dog catchers or they might be running from the cops or something. So I didn't know why they were running like that. So at first I was a little bit concerned. Then you hear the music and you see everybody get there and you recognize, okay, this is actually a good thing. This is because I think we see so many movies where African American characters are running from their lives they're running for their lives, and it could be whether it's Rosewood or Eve's Bayou or whatever movie you want to go back to that took place around that time period. If you like, it just really feels like something ominous is about to happen. So going back to my experience there, it was, first of all, being on set and having all the food is a great thing. Like, we had so much food, and that was really important. I think, though, that scene, what I remember is Chadwick Boseman, who had been doing the Wakanda Forever Black Panther salute, and he does it everywhere he goes, and people are always asking him to do it. He's at Howard University giving a commencement speech, and he keeps doing it. And at a certain point, I think he started to get tired of it, because he knows that he's a talented actor, but everybody just kept asking him to do this one role. And I just remember, even after all the times that he's done it, one of the extras said Wakanda Forever, and he did it on stage. And I felt like that shows that no matter how much he's been through, as far as, all right, people only know me now for this one role, or they just keep on wanting to box me into this one particular role. I just remember Chadwick was just really lighthearted the whole time, and I think he did a really good job of keeping our energy up, because you wouldn't believe how long it took to get that scene right.
Oh yeah, we worked on that. That was at least a 12-hour day.
Yeah, and
we worked through the night on that one.
Yeah, and a little secret I'll tell you is that I started to move around a little bit, because I think there's one part where I started out and I'm sitting up on the bleachers with everybody else, but when everybody started getting up and dancing, I definitely, even though technically I was supposed to stay in my position, I definitely moved around, because I was like, look, I don't know how many takes they're going to do, but I'm going to make it into this scene somehow. Now, I don't really recall seeing myself in that one, but it's okay, because about the 42-minute, 21-second mark of the film, like, we're very prominent in there. But I just remember moving around. I remember talking to people, making friends, and it was just really a fun experience.
Yeah, I remember a couple of gentlemen behind me were making comments about Chadwick Boseman and how he looked frail and how he didn't look like the Black Panther, and I think I could take him. And now we know in retrospect that he was actually ill at the time.
Yeah.
And so it's just something to ponder in the future, and watch what you say about people, because you don't know what the backstory is. But I was getting a little annoyed by their comments, and I'm sure I wasn't the only one. I was just happy to be there, but to hear them say things like that, it was kind of disrespectful, I thought.
It was. And what we have to do is we have to do a better job of just lifting up each other and just really being in the moment. And I think that what ended up happening for the gentlemen that were behind you that kept on making the disrespectful comments, they were probably tired and fatigued like we all were. They were probably just sleep deprived, and I'm not saying that.
Or they could have just been that type of person.
Right.
I mean, you know how some of us are. We like to tease and joke and then and antagonize people. And I got the sense they were more of that type, because they just went on and on and on.
Yeah.
And they didn't seem exhausted. They seemed to really enjoy that they were just making those type of comments about everybody, not just him, but some of the other people in the background. It's just the way it is. When you get a bunch of personalities together, you're gonna have those type of people.
Right. You're gonna have some bad apples, and I think what ends up happening is that kind of energy is contagious, and I'm just glad that obviously you're a vet and you're a respectful man anyway, so you're not going to do that anyway. But there are people out there, like, you can block your own blessings. Like, we didn't have to get featured in the film at all. They could have went a different direction and been like, you know what, I thought these guys did good initially, but after looking back on it, no, this is not what we want. But you just got to keep the good energy flowing and keep negativity out, because I just even think about how Viola Davis said she had to gain so much weight to play Ma Rainey. Because at first, I think I'm so used to thinking that actors are putting on bodysuits and they're doing things like that to give off the portrayal that they're a bigger person. But she's like, no, I gained weight. And if people were being disrespectful like that about Chadwick, you had to know that people with Viola, they probably said some things about her too. And it just goes to show you that none of that stuff is really important, because these are our storytellers. And if you're blessed enough to be a part of that story, then you should be just focused on that.
And there's a very real element to that sort of thing, because that happens in real life too. no matter what you do, there are going to be people who have something negative to say, and that just, it kind of played in the whole experience. Majority of the people were excited to be there and be a part of that, and that really what shined through the whole scene. So I just remember those few guys there behind me. But
I remember, and I had some guys next to me that was clowning around too, and I think it's just really hard when everybody, because when you're on a movie set, your time is no longer your own. Like, you don't, like, it's not like when you're in class or you're on the job and you can look down at your phone. You can't have your phone. And I think for a lot of people, that presented a challenge, because it's like, oh, now I don't have my phone. I actually got to socialize with human beings.
Right. You know, there's something else I'd like to emphasize too, was when just before we were to enter the tent for that opening scene, one of the associate directors, I remember him vividly because he spoke to us during our montage, but he pulled all of us together. There were like 3 or 4 busloads of people for that tent scene. Before we entered the tent, he gathered all of us together. He said, listen, this is you're being a part of something special here tonight. And we want you to be well represented. We want you to be respectful. We want you to be professional. We want you to make us look good. This is for our history. This is for our people. And that's something you don't see on every set, you know, because this is specific to African-American culture. And he wanted to make sure that we understood the significance and importance of what we were being involved in that moment. And I thought that was significant as we went off to film that scene. So I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, it was important, because when you're doing something of that magnitude, sometimes you can arrive at the end zone, score the touchdown, and believe that you've arrived, and you don't have to remember that you still have the rest of the game to play. And I think that what that staff member did with us is he helped us to stay in the moment and to not get too high or too low, but just to focus on what our jobs are. And I think the best lesson that I can take from that situation is just that you never know who's watching you, so you need to conduct yourself the right way. Like, you don't have to do too much. You don't want to be getting into the habit of gossiping. You just want to be there, do what you're called to do, and build relationships with people, because that's what matters, not all of the ancillary stuff.
Exactly. Well, you know, on a film set, you know, it's when they're not filming, they ask you to be quiet because they got all these side conversations going on. They're discussing the lighting, where to put the cameras. And I was on a film set, Escape at Dannemora, where it was all men. And we were in a cafeteria, a prison cafeteria. All of us were playing inmates.
Okay. And
every 2 seconds, somebody was screaming, please be quiet. Please stop talking.
Right.
And then they were like, we want you to pantomime. It's like, okay, we need to explain what pantomime means. Just move your mouth as if you're talking, but you're not actually saying anything. But I mean, it was crazy being on that set. But the difference with being in that tent scene, when they said, please be quiet, I noticed people quiet for the most part. You know what I mean? Like, they really, you know, it's just a different atmosphere from working on Escape at Dannemora, where it's almost like you put us in prison outfits and we start acting like we're prisoners, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's almost like we take on that role of being inmates when just because you have on a green outfit or an orange jumpsuit or something. But it was interesting to see the different contrast in the groups of people and how they responded to the scenes and the atmosphere, I guess is the point.
Now, Ovis, one thing I want to make sure that we do before we go is I want to make sure that we give the people out there some background about your acting experience and what do you have coming up.
Well, I retired a few years ago and went on an open casting call and got selected to work on a TV show, just a scene, and I was so excited, like all those people, because that casting call was thousands of people there. And just to be selected, it was exciting, because I've always liked theater. I've liked anything on the stage, from music till theater to movies and films. Just always loved art in any form. And to be selected to be in a scene. And my first time on a movie set, and they put me in the middle of a scene of some FBI agents breaking out a door, and my reaction had to be, whoa, who the hell is this? And I was like, well, damn, they already discovered me my first day on the set, right?
Yeah.
But now the next time on the set, I didn't leave the holding room all day. You know, it's like they didn't use me at all. And so that's how it goes. But since then, I've had the opportunity to work with a couple different casting agencies here in Pittsburgh. I've worked on videos, commercials, actually done some modeling. Mm-hmm. If you haven't, probably wouldn't notice it, but my face has been on posters and billboards.
I saw you on the Sheets advertisement. I saw that.
And but I really love being in the film. It's not always a pleasant experience. Sometimes they treat us, the background people aren't treated like your principal actors.
Right.
You know, the way you eat is different than where the actors eat and the crew. The food you get is different from the crew and the actors. You know, it's like, it's funny to see some people like, man, I feel a little bit, you know, funny about this. I'm like, well, welcome to discrimination.
Right.
You know, how does that feel? When you look at these people over here eating gourmet food and you get hot dogs, you know what I'm saying? It's not always like that. But the food is usually really good.
The food is on point, but best believe before you decide to venture over to the food that's for the principal actors, then make sure that you ask somebody or that nobody sees you, because they will make a big deal out of it.
We're speaking from experience here.
Yes. And you know, it's interesting because when you were talking about the differences that principal actors and extras, their different experiences when they're on set, I thought about Spike Lee, how he talked about when they were doing School Days, how he had the light-skinned women that were in the epic dance scene. They were staying in fancier hotels. They had better accommodations. And he put the dark-skinned actresses in significantly poorer conditions. And he really wanted to have that tension manifested on camera. And that's why when you watch that scene and you just watch the interactions between the jigaboos and the wannabes, and you see this throughout, you see what's going on. So that's a real thing. Like, directors are constantly trying to do things to bring out the rawest emotion. So
and the realness. I mean, acting, I guess Sanford Meisner was a renowned acting coach. Would define acting as responding honestly under imaginary circumstances. It's not pretending, but it's about really being real and honest with your emotions. And I was told that a good director would never tell you, okay, we want you to be angry. What they do, like they did with us, they set up the situation, and whatever emotions are organic. Every scene might be a little different, you know, because the emotions are real. And so by Spike Lee doing that, he set up the real emotions. Like, you probably felt some kind of way about how come they get the good accommodations, you know, and that came out during the filming.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, there was a scene, if you like the Temptations movie, when Leon plays David Ruffin, and he tells Otis, like, ain't nobody coming to see you, Otis.
Yeah.
And the director said, I don't think he likes it, because that was spontaneous.
Right.
And the director told him, I don't think he likes it when you say that. He's like, well, you ain't supposed to like it. Right. And so his reaction wasn't fake. It's real. Like, who the hell is he talking to?
Right.
But that's real emotion, and that's what's so great about acting, and I hope to do more of it. But it's just been a great journey so far.
All right, so about the movie specifically, what was the monologue, or what part of it, what aspect was your favorite part
of the movie?
Yeah.
Oh, I like several parts of it. I like the story that I guess Michael Potts. Slow Drag was like, I know somebody sold his soul to the devil. Like, oh Lord, here we go. You know? Those kind of stories. I mean, each character represented personalities of people that I know a little bit, you know, and sometimes myself. I've been every one of those dudes at some point in my life. But there were so many scenes. I love the scene where Rainey talks about, you know, being the mother of the blues, you know, and talks about how she's behaving towards her manager and the owner of the studio, how it sounds like she's being difficult and overbearing, but she pretty much has to be that way, or else they will take advantage of her like they did Levy, you know, at the end of the movie. I mean, there's so many. To me, the characters have depth. But I've talked to some people, and they don't. Some people, I guess, with art, they just, I don't know if they care enough to see beyond just the superficial aspects of a character.
Yeah.
But I like to really, and with August Wilson, his characters do have depth. to me. And the story, something can be as subtle as, look, I don't want a check. I need cash because I can't cash my checks around here in this part of town or whatever. You know, I could relate to that. I could feel that. You know, and it seems like no big deal. To some of us, that was a big deal. You know, like this is the life. You know, that's how difficult life was during that time.
I think Glenn Turman, he's just like and
now, see, me and Glenn Turman go way back.
Okay,
we go back to Cooley High.
Okay. Oh, really?
He was preacher at Cooley High.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know the man personally.
I know what you mean, but
I mean,
I forgot about Cooley High.
He was back in the 70s, man. He was Cooley High,
right? And you know that's how they got
Thomasine and Bushrod. He was in that.
Lawrence Hilton Jacobs, and Garrett Morris.
Oh yeah. But Cooley High is a classic. If you haven't seen it, you got to see that.
Oh, Cooley High. It's definitely a classic, and that's how they actually got what's happening because they based it on those characters from there, and the thing is, Cooley High, I believe, took place in Chicago.
Yes.
But what's happening? They moved them out to Watts in California. So, but it's the same. Like Raj is like Preach essentially. Like they both were writers, and it was just really an interesting movie, but. Yeah, Glenn Turman, obviously, I got introduced to him from a different world because I'm seeing Colonel Taylor, and that guy is just still has so much seriousness, and the roles that he plays are so just, they have so much gravity to them. And what I really loved was how he set up our montage that we were a part of by talking about the colored man, and you could see his energy throughout the whole film was to make sure that we never lose sight of the task at hand. We keep our eyes on the prize, because when you look at all of what I will say is, because I wasn't as familiar with the play, I thought that this was going to be like a lot more Viola Davis. I was because I didn't know what to expect. But then when I see that the majority of the play is really those four gentlemen that are in the band and they're talking to each other, that in the basement, that is really the heart of what the film is. And I felt like just the range that Chadwick showed. Like 1 minute we're introduced to him, he's kind of like this superficial, hot-headed young black dude that is like anti-religious, and he doesn't, and he goes back and forth with Cutler like the whole movie about how you believe in God, well I don't believe in him. But then, and at first he just seems like he's being brash just to be brash. We're about to wrap up this great discussion that we've been having here. One last thing, what's coming next for you?
I don't have anything planned right now.
I hear you.
I mean, during COVID, and I mean, there's not much production going on right now. But once we're able to, I guess, interact again and be able to move freely, I know one of my friends who's a playwright. We hope to do this play we worked on again called The Man Cave. Okay. Phenomenal. She's a local playwright, and I think she's working on another play. So I probably hope to do some theater with her, and who knows what other movie productions. I'll just put my name out there and see what happens. But I don't have anything planned, exactly right now.
Right, and I think that because we have the experience that we have with COVID-19 this year, and losing Chadwick Boseman, or even people like Kobe Bryant, or just a lot of people, Debo from Friday, we just have lost a lot of people this year, and we lose people every year. But I think knowing that we were a part of Chadwick's final role, and knowing that we were in the presence of Viola Davis and Denzel, and even Jesse Williams, who, we talked about, he wasn't in the film, but he was on set, and just having those people around, those major players around, was something that I'll never forget. And I think this year has kind of taught me to cherish the experiences that we have, because you can't recreate those memories. Like, it'll never be like it was on that set.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping Denzel plans to produce more August Wilson plays into film. And I hope that they film them here in Pittsburgh, and I hope we get other opportunities to work on those productions. So that's something to look forward to.
Absolutely. Well, this has been my first official interview. I'm so glad that you came by, Mr. Mangum. I really appreciate you. Me and you are going to be linked forever. And one last thing I'll say is that I had a conversation with my podcast co-host, shout out to E, and we were talking about how people don't like to talk about planning their funerals. People don't like to talk about what happens if someone goes, or people don't like to talk about legacy because people feel like, oh, that's a dirty word. If you speak that to existence, then you might not be here tomorrow. But the way I'm living and the way I'm understanding life, based on this year, is that nothing is promised. So for me, one of the things that I'm really passionate about is that picture from that film that means so much to me. That is what I want in my obituary. That is one of the first things I want people to talk about when they mention my name. And I really feel like going forward, what we all need to do is we need to do things that are legacy defining, and we need to not be afraid of what comes next, because honestly, none of us are in control of how long we're going to be on this earth, but we are in control of living a life that we would be proud to have lived.
Oh, I understand.
Yeah. All right. Well,
that's great.
Yeah, thanks for coming by, man, and I'm sure we'll be seeing each other soon, maybe on another movie set.
All
one
right,
day.
thanks a lot, Dev.
All right, no problem, man.